How's it going, YouTube? Turner here. Welcome back to another entry in the Dragon Discourse podcast. This is episode 4. I am, of course, Toon Raider, joined by my co-host, Iduname. Say what's up, Iduname.
What's up? How's everybody doing?
And today, we are joined with a special guest, Zach. How are you doing today, Zach?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing great as well. Today, we're going to be ranking all 4 Dragon Ball Z sagas and going over the latest trailer for Dragon Ball Daima. So, before we actually rank the 4 Dragon Ball Z sagas, let's just let the viewers in on our history with Dragon Ball Z. For me, it was my entry into the Dragon Ball universe. I, of course, watched a lot of it when I was young, and it's my favorite anime of all time. How about you, Iduname?
Yeah, basically my favorite show. It's really hard to pick what my favorite show is, but it's definitely in my top 3.
And yourself, Zach?
Childhood classic. Up there with all the big shonens like Bleach, Naruto. It's obviously older than those,
But is certified banger.
Yeah.
So, obviously today we're going to be ranking all 4 sagas of Dragon Ball Z, but for you viewers at home, this is going to be basically a discussion of all things Dragon Ball Z. So if you have any questions you want to get in, make sure you send them in the comments, and me and Iduname will do our best to respond to those. So we'll basically just be going in order from the Saiyan Saga, Frieza Saga, Cell Saga, and Buu Saga. And we'll be listing where we rank those on our list. So for example, we'll talk about the Saiyan Saga first. If I have that as my number 4, I'll just say, we're talking about the Saiyan Saga, this is my number 4. So yeah, so is everybody ready to get started on the discussion?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I was going to say, though, shoot, I forgot what I was going to say, actually.
All right, well, whenever you get it, just go ahead and mention it. So, first off, I wanted to start with the Saiyan Saga. Now, I actually placed this at number 4 on my list, and this is probably the second hottest take on my list, but I think the Saiyan Saga is my least favorite arc out of Dragon Ball Z. Now, hear me out. It gives us great moments like Gohan's Rage, Goku's grand entrance versus Nappa, Piccolo's sacrifice, Vegeta's introduction and fight with Goku. That's all great. As far as story goes, it was a huge revelation for fans, whether you've only watched DBZ or you watched OG Dragon Ball as well. You find out Goku's an alien and his brother has come for him. It was definitely the first steps toward a larger universe, and that's why it's at my number 4. It's the first steps into a larger universe, but I've also felt the scope was relatively small compared to the other 3 arcs. Now, granted, we did get to see Goku go to the afterlife and train under King Kai, but I still feel like this arc is the most grounded, relatively speaking. And that's not a bad thing, but despite all the risks it takes with the story, it just doesn't match up to the depth, gravitas, and stakes of the other arcs on this list. So that's why I put the Saiyan Saga at my number 4. How about you, Iduname? Where did you put the Saiyan Saga on your number 4, and what did you think of it, broadly speaking? Well, on your list.
What was that question?
Where did you put the Saiyan Saga on your list, and what are your thoughts on it?
On my list?
Yeah.
The Saiyan Saga is my number 1, bro.
Oh, snap. Wow. We could not have been more far off in terms of where we ranked it.
The Saiyan Saga, in my opinion, is one of the best sagas because it starts out with so much crazy stuff going on, and you're just expecting it to not be that crazy. But it just starts off with Goku finding out he's an alien from another freaking planet, and then his brother comes and kidnaps his kid, and then he dies from his own brother, or technically Piccolo, but because of his brother, Goku dies at like the start of the series, which I don't think anybody expects when they never have watched the show before, so right. That in itself, I think, is
pretty much everybody dies right there in the Saiyan Saga. It's crazy.
Yeah, and nobody expects it, and I think that's what really makes it deserve number 1, because it kind of just literally sets the show up for you to expect.
Because Piccolo's
or what you expect won't be happening, basically.
Piccolo's dead. You think there's no way to revive nobody, and then they're like, right at the end of it, they're like, "Oh, Namek."
And that really just opens the floodgates to a whole new universe. So it's obviously your number one I do name. Well, how about you, Zach? Where did you put the Saiyan Saga on your list?
It's hard to pick, man, between that and the Boo Saga, but we'll get into that later about the Boo Saga. But like you said, it's just like so many. There's also so many ways it could have went, and so many ways they could have took the after the Saiyan Saga.
Yeah, they really could have spun it in any direction they wanted to, but they just went straight to space as the second arc. I think my favorite moment from the arc has got to be, if I had to pick, it's probably going to be Piccolo's sacrifice for Gohan. How about you, Idoname? What would be your favorite moment from the Saiyan Saga?
My favorite moment from the Saiyan Saga is when Yajirobe... Does Yajirobe cut off the tail, or was that someone
else? Yeah,
else?
Yajirobe cuts off his tail.
Dude, I think Yajirobe was clutch as hell. Like, I know it's probably such a stupid answer, but honestly, Yajirobe came in clutch, and if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have won, I don't think.
Yeah. Me and my fiance are still watching through OG Dragon Ball, and we just got to where Yajirobe is introduced, and he's actually introduced as a pretty formidable fighter, pretty on par with Goku. So it's interesting how, as Dragon Ball Z developed, he's kind of more of a joke character. I think the last relevant thing he did was cut off Great Ape Vegeta's tail, so I do like that moment there. That's a good moment you mentioned. How about
gotta
you?
Gotta remember Yajirobe.
Yeah, Yajirobe is an OG. How about you, Zach? What do you think is your favorite moment from the Saiyan Saga? If you had to pick.
Favorite moment? Let's see.
And while you get that answer ready, I want to go ahead and list my second.
Probably Gohan turning Great Ape on Vegeta.
Yeah, that was definitely out of the blue. Like, seriously, his tail his tail just regrew out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, he smushes Vegeta, and that's like how they get Vegeta down for the count. I thought that was actually kind of funny.
I don't think he should have got his tail cut off again.
Yeah.
I think he should have kept his tail longer, like at least through the Cell Saga.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, but all good things do come to an end. Are we ready to move on to the second arc, the Saiyan Saga? I mean, the Frieza Saga?
Yep.
Alright, so I actually put the Frieza Saga at my number 3. Now, this is really surprising that I ended up putting it at my number 3. It's another hot take. So before you come at me in the comments for not having the Frieza Saga at number 2 or number 1, I want to say that this saga is still a fan favorite of mine. Known for its hurried pace and the competition between characters to find the Dragon Balls, the backstabbing by characters like Vegeta, and the introduction of Super Saiyan, the Frieza Saga is definitely a fan favorite. It introduced the iconic Ginyu-Force villains, it did a lot with Vegeta's arc, handled the Namekians and their lore with care, and gave us Frieza, one of the greatest villains of all time. However, I had to put it at number 3 simply because I felt the other two arcs had something more my speed. And that something is wackiness and risky storytelling. The Frieza Saga's story is definitely risky to an extent, but like I said, most of the story is just a race to collect the Dragon Balls before Frieza does. It may be a climax with an epic fight between Goku and Frieza that tops it off, but compared to other arcs, I just find it a bit too repetitive, given we've already seen Dragon Ball Hunt arcs before. Again, that said, I'm not saying I dislike this arc. It just falls short of the next two on my list.
Nice.
How about you, Iduname? What do you think about the Frieza Saga?
So I put the Frieza Saga also on my number 3 spot, and my reason for it is in the Frieza Saga, the Frieza Saga is honestly where it largely revolves around, like you said, the main characters Gohan, Krillin, Bulma, Vegeta, all of them hiding because, well, not Vegeta technically, but all of them hiding because everyone else is just way more powerful than them. And I also really like that it shows a different side to Vegeta that we really don't see ever again, because after that saga, he, starts changing his ways for the most part. And so I just really think it's interesting how Vegeta acted during the saga. And obviously the fight between Frieza and Goku was really, really long, but that's my only really complaint about it. I thought the fight was really good. I don't really have any complaints about the fight or anything like that. I think the fight was awesome, and Goku turning into Super Saiyan was pretty amazing. I think they could have done it better in terms of just killing Krillin again, because we've already seen Krillin die. But I guess it makes sense at the same time because Krillin wasn't, like, I'm pretty sure at the time they didn't think they could bring him back.
Right.
Or maybe they did.
Well, you're right. It was an effective way to kill him because, it's just spur of the moment. Krillin's already died. Goku's not thinking straight. Maybe he's not thinking about the Namekian Dragon Balls. He's just pure rage. But yeah, go ahead.
Right. So Goku turning into a Super Saiyan just made the whole series go a totally different way, in my opinion, because we hadn't seen transformations before besides the Great Ape, and I don't think anyone expected the Super Saiyan transformation, which is why it was so cool and so crazy at the time. But that's basically my opinion on the Frieza saga. I didn't think it was, deserving of number 2 or number 1, but
it's still a pretty solid saga. I mean, it's got the best.
It's a solid
villain.
saga.
Well, maybe not the best in my opinion, but one of the best. And
I
yeah,
think
you're right about the Vegeta stuff
the
too.
best villain. That's just my opinion.
Ooh, we're gonna have some disagreements in this stream. Oh, for the people in the audience, by the way, this is a stream for hot takes. So if you have any opinions you think are unpopular, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll get back to you on that. Zach, what do you think about the Frieza saga? Where would you place this on your top 4? Would you put this at maybe the second favorite, the third favorite? What would you say?
It definitely opens up for a good villain. Frieza made a great villain. Very heartless. Plus, he killed Goku and Vegeta's whole race. So it's a very fitting arc as well.
Yeah, Frieza is definitely like one of the most menacing villains I've ever seen in Dragon Ball. But I can't agree with you guys that he's the best villain. But I do name, like you said, this arc really does a lot with Vegeta's character. We get the Ginyu Force, some of the best comedy. We haven't talked about the Ginyu Force much. The Ginyu Force are so funny and so hilarious. And let's just mention Dragon Ball Z Abridged. They do so much with the Ginyu Force to make them even funnier in DBZ Abridged. You know what I'm saying?
I love Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Yeah, it's great. And you also get, like, later on in the Buu saga, you kind of get the feeling that the Great Saiyaman is loosely inspired from the Ginyu Force. So I definitely agree with you there as far as Frieza being a formidable villain, but we can't forget about the Ginyu Force being probably the second best villains. And then you also have Dodoria and Zarbon and what they represent, the comedy that they bring as well. So that's pretty funny stuff there. Zach, do you have anything else you want to say about the Frieza saga?
Well, there was a lot of Zenkai boost about it, and I honestly didn't like that. It was okay, I guess, because it got them out of moments that they needed help in, But
right.
I just feel like they could have handled it with their own power without relying on Zenkai boost throughout that entire saga.
Well, we got Zenkai boost, but let's not forget the unlocking potential that Gohan and Krillin got. I mean, Gohan got his potential unlocked twice. That's why that son of a gun was so strong in Dragon Ball Super when he became Beast. Like, he got his potential unlocked twice. I do name. Do you have any final statements you want to make about the Frieza saga before we move on?
Bulma was bad at the beginning of it.
Bulma, yeah,
He had hold up.
she could be a little annoying at times.
Gohan had at least 2 Zenkai boosts. Vegeta had like probably 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Goku had 1 or maybe 2 because he was training and used probably a shit ton while he was a crap ton while he was training on the spaceship.
Right. All right, y'all. Well, if we are ready to move on to the Cell Saga, real quick before we do, though, we have a comment. Jonathan Lemon in chat said 0C with a strange character under it. Jonathan, if you are typing something, try to form it into a sentence, and we will definitely respond to that. Are you guys ready to move on to the Cell Saga?
Yes.
All right, so I actually put Cell Saga at my number 1 favorite arc in Dragon Ball Z, guys. Hear me out. This is my favorite arc in all of Dragon Ball for many, many reasons. The Red Ribbon Army are brought back in the form of violent new androids. A mysterious youth named Trunks is revealed as the son of Vegeta and Bulma from the future. Even more androids are revealed, and Cell is hatched. We've got an awesome power-up for Piccolo and cool reveals like Super Saiyan Vegeta, Super Saiyan Future Trunks, and the grand reveal of Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Speaking of Gohan, this arc is so rich in the story department with regards to Gohan's development that I can't help but to love it. This arc also was the last time we got side characters like Yamcha or Tien, this was the last time they got any major play in Dragon Ball Z. Before Super eventually brought them back, they were kind of missing from the Buu Saga. Not to mention, this arc is known for all of its plot twists involving Trunks, the androids, Gohan's power, and even Cell. And while I'm on it, I should also mention that I believe Cell is the best DBZ villain hands down. He's cocky, abrasive, rash, proud, yet never ceases to be threatening and always has a cool aura. He's always going to be a major highlight of this arc. And who can forget the climax of this arc? The death of Android 16, the transformation of Gohan, and the death of Goku. The Cell Saga is probably the saga with the most emotional ending and is pretty much near perfect all around. That's just my opinion, of course. Adonai, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I want to add that I agree, but I also don't agree because it's my number 2 spot.
Ooh, that's rough.
But I think that the Cell Saga was pretty good. The only complaint I have is, actually, I don't really have that many complaints about it now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, come on, that's a number 1 pick.
I think it's pretty funny that it's basically ripping off the Terminator in a way, because the Terminator is about a dude who comes to the past after a bunch of androids wrecked the future to try to fix it.
You know, I've heard the Terminator comparisons before, but I've never watched Terminator. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I think that reference to Terminator is pretty funny and undeniable that they got it from the Terminator. Maybe they didn't, but I also think it's really cool that the reason why it's in my number 2 spot is because it's the only saga where Goku isn't really the strongest hero or strongest fighter in the saga, because Piccolo, Vegeta, Trunks all surpass him at different points in the saga, and it sets up Gohan to ascend way beyond Goku. And I don't think that Goku's way of doing it was the best way, and from a father standpoint, obviously, but he was trying to get his son to, awaken this power he knew he had. So
yeah,
it all worked out in the end because Gohan had an amazing transformation, and it was awesome and badass. Excuse my language. But my favorite part of the entire arc or saga is honestly when Gohan punches Cell in the stomach and just makes him spit. All of his air comes out.
That was pure metal. That was so cool. That was awesome, dude.
It was so good.
Like Gohan letting go, like Android 16 says, and just going crazy and just letting it all out as a Super Saiyan 2 is always going to be one of the most epic moments in all of Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I just had to put that arc at my number 1 spot. How about you, Zach? What did you think? Any favorite moments from the arc?
Oh yeah, I love the Android 16 pep talk. Uh, Obviously Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 transformation tops the whole arc, but I thought Cell was a very mysterious villain. I liked him because he had everyone's abilities and whatnot. He could regenerate like Piccolo, which made him a very difficult villain to beat. It really threw Piccolo off in their first fight whenever he used the Kamehameha against him. And I think that's when Piccolo really was like, oh, he's going to be a problem.
Yeah, now
Because if he's got that ability, imagine what else he's got.
yeah, I mean, it just adds to how cool Cell is. Like, Idoname, what is your deal? Why do you think Frieza's a cooler villain than Cell? I just want to get your opinion. What is it about Frieza that's better than Cell to you?
Dude, Frieza is a straight up evil, racist motherfucker. Excuse my language again. It's been past 10 minutes, so I can kind of go ham, and I will sometimes.
Right.
But I'll try to slow it down. But anyways, Frieza's crazy, dude. He just straight up kills people for the hell of it. Like, Cell has a reason for it, which is, oh, I want to rule the galaxy.
Well, he was really
Frieza
about
doesn't.
testing
I don't
his
even
power.
think Frieza cares about that. Frieza already ruled the galaxy, so he kind of gets that in a way. And then he just kills people, dude. He's crazy. He's worse than the literal god of destruction, in my opinion. Like, Cell ain't on his level in terms of just like he's literally he calls the Saiyans monkeys. He's a racist.
Yeah, he's known for.
That's pretty.
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind, Cell isn't necessarily evil. Well, I mean, he's evil, but I mean, it comes from different motivations. Like, Frieza's definitely racist. He's all about conquering the galaxy. He's all about being the Supreme Emperor.
Cell also cheated to get strong.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes him so cool, because he's created from the
stupid.
DNA of other fighters, and he has all of their powers in him. I think the coolest thing about
was straight up born strong.
And then he had to do some training.
He came out. And he became an emperor as a kid.
Just to go ahead and skip, like, we're going to skip into Super, because Frieza trained, right? And he become crazy strong just by training.
Yeah.
Which is something he's never done.
Right.
Imagine if Cell trained, because he's already really strong.
Yeah, because he cheated and sucked 1,000 people.
Yeah, but you also have to remember,
imagine
that's
if he
simply how
actually
Cell operates, Idoname. I mean, let's take a moment and think about this. If you have Frieza, and he's supposed to be the most formidable villain in the galaxy, imagine if he never trained, and then you'd still have Frieza from DBZ, but you wouldn't have Frieza from Dragon Ball Super. I mean, when you take a look at Cell, is his whole thing about training? No, his whole thing is about proving himself and just being cocky. That's what I like about him. He doesn't necessarily, like, I don't think he needs to have his own power be earned. I just think he needs to be cocky with it. He needs to think he's the strongest in the room. And he always does think he's the strongest in the room. He has that Saiyan pride, that Saiyan ego. I believe it was stated somewhere that he kind of got that from Vegeta.
You know what I think?
What?
I think there's a reason Frieza's alive right now and why he's still going. And it's because he's better than Cell.
Well,
he's
definitely a fan favorite.
He's definitely the best, because Cell came back in a movie and it wasn't even Cell, bro. They just knocked him off. That's how garbage Cell is.
It was, yeah, you're right. It wasn't Cell. I think they knew they couldn't replicate the greatness of Cell, so they had to make a Cell Max copy, which wasn't exactly Cell.
I do think that if Cell would have been brought back, it would have been just as good or better than the Frieza comeback. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely very formidable, dude. I mean, like, Cell as a villain in Dragon Ball Super, absorbing a bunch of... Like, I know he absorbed androids and stuff, and that was his main kick. But he also absorbed humans at the same time. So could you imagine if he absorbed some of the most powerful fighters in the universe in Dragon Ball Super? I mean, now you got me on my fan fiction hype train. We could be getting a lot of cool Dragon Ball Super stuff, like him going to the other universes.
Yeah, but that's just the one reason why he's not that cool, is because, like, everyone else worked to get strong. besides Frieza, which is why he's the best because he just was born that way.
Yeah.
But Cell was born and then was like, in order for me to get strong, I gotta go suck a bunch of innocent people that aren't strong.
Okay, well, let's
And
talk
he
about
preys on the
that.
weak until he gets to his second form, and then after that he's cocky and he's not even that strong.
Right.
Vegeta fucks him up.
That's true. That's true. Okay, well, let's move on to the Boo Saga. We've talked a lot about Frieza versus Cell in terms of fan favorites, so we're just going to go ahead and get on to the Boo Saga, the last arc in the Dragon Ball Z topic we'll be talking about today. So this very well may be the hottest take on my list. I put the Boo Saga at number 2.
Yep, hold up. Before
Sorry.
we start talking about the Boo Saga,
Go ahead.
I had something on my mind about the Cell Saga.
All right, shoot.
Recently, me and Megan's been watching it, and we just went over the part where Trunks, Vegeta got knocked out by Cell in Cell in his perfect form, and Trunks fights Cell in his perfect form, and turns into what they think is the Ascended Super Saiyan, the bulky one.
Right. Grade 2, I believe it's called.
But when Trunks turns into that form, like, he honestly did some damage. Even Vegeta did some damage right before he got knocked out with that final flash.
Yeah.
He destroyed half a Cell. So, like, honestly, they're not as, like, they made them seem like they was weak compared to Cell, but I'd say they took a lot of with that final flash and Cell, or that final flash plus Trunks whooping up on him for a little while. That probably damaged him quite a bit. If Goku and Gohan was there, they probably could have all beat him. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and that goes to what I was saying. I think the Cell Saga is my number 1 favorite because it has so many moments like that where it could have ended, but it just kept going and it kept throwing you with some more, kept throwing some more plot twists at you. So we ready to move on to the Boo Saga now?
Yep.
All right, so this may very well be the hottest take on my list since I put it at number 2, and that's mainly because I think the Boo Saga is considered by many to be the worst DBZ arc for several reasons that I just don't agree with. From my perspective, it's so good almost for those same reasons. This arc mostly takes place within a day, but it does so much with such a short amount of time. Featuring some crazy transformations like Super Saiyan 3, introducing the concept of fusions with Gotenks, establishing the ancient lore in the Dragon Ball universe with Majin Buu, and somehow still threading the needle with the Dragon Ball energy with the signature comedy and action. We see Gohan take over as a protagonist for much of this arc, which was much needed and honestly really refreshing. We also got some romance with him and Videl, which was a little bit interesting, something that we got a little bit with Bulma and Vegeta and with Goku and Chi-Chi, but I think I personally, the romance with Gohan and Videl was just kind of more sweet and more appealing. We also had the introduction of Goten and Trunks, which brought a lot of levity and fun to the more slice-of-life elements of Dragon Ball. And the World Tournament's return to the series did a lot for me in terms of this arc's first act. Everything with Majin Buu's return, the Supreme Kai's arrival, Elder Kai unlocking Gohan's potential, like we talked about. It was unlocked in the Namek Saga, so this was like the second time it was unlocked. We got Vegito, Kid Buu's demise. Everything makes this arc iconic for introducing much more magic to the series, because the Saiyan Saga, Frieza Saga, and Cell Saga were much more focused on a sci-fi angle. That said, this arc probably has the weakest villain in DBZ in the form of Majin Buu. I like Fat Buu, but he still does compare to the likes of Vegeta, Frieza, or Cell. Also, Vegeta's atonement is the best moment in the entire series for me personally, when he sacrifices himself, so I had to remember that in ranking this arc at my number 2 slot.
Dang, bro, you're gonna not like my take on this.
No, I knew I wouldn't like your take on it. Like I said, it's definitely popular to not like it, or definitely I understand most people don't like it as in terms of where it fits on their list, but for me personally, it's my number 2. I mean, I really enjoy it. Why?
All right.
Where would you put it on your list?
I'm gonna put it like this. I'm gonna tell you all the things I like and don't like, because you basically just told the entire story.
I basically, yeah.
So listen. I like Goku and Vegeta's fight. I don't like Majin Buu and his character.
Understandable.
There's only one thing I do like about Majin Buu, and that's Fat Buu, and that's just because he's innocent and nice, kinda, if you teach him to be or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's pretty cool. But I also didn't like Bobbity, even though Bobbity played a huge role in the saga. I think he's a C word. He's really annoying, and I don't like him. And when he died, it made me so happy, and I still get so happy when I rewatch it to this day. So that's my take on Bobbity. I think that things like Fusion and Super Saiyan 3, even though they're like not that cool now, and they're just really boring
revolutionary
now,
back then.
Back then they were so crazy and revolutionary, and the fact that they kind of started it with kids, Goten and Trunks, was even cooler in my opinion, because
Yeah.
Oh, they're still
I've
great.
said it
They're
in
still
I've
cool.
said it in previous podcasts before, our previous episodes. Goten and Trunks are my favorite parts of Dragon Ball Z, like the entire series. I used to watch videos of just them on YouTube when I was a kid because I just really liked those characters and I thought they were hilarious. And so I think that the only good thing about the Majin Buu saga is the parts with Goten and Trunks, and the part where Goku and Vegeta fight, and where Vegeta turns evil for a second. And all the other things I said I like Super Saiyan 3. Super Saiyan 3 was awesome, even though he yelled for like 4 episodes. It was still awesome.
You know, Super Saiyan 3 transformation gets a lot of play with casual Dragon Ball Z fans. I mean, if you just pull that clip up, it's like, what, 10 minutes? It's probably
crazy.
the craziest transformation because, you know, you got the entire earth shaking, buildings collapsing. It's pretty over the top. What about you, Zach? What are some of your favorite moments from the Buu saga?
Has he been making like a spot for his, or has he just been giving his opinion?
He's just been giving his opinions, which is fine, of course. So do you have any opinions?
Yeah.
On the Boo Saga.
Yeah, like favorite moments,
Yeah.
things like that.
Let's see.
And while you think of that real quick, I want to get to a
Yeah.
comment in the chat, Zach, and you can go ahead and gather your thoughts. I want to get to this comment from Retro Lad. He says, and remember, guys, if you have anything to say, make sure you comment it in the chat. This is a live discussion, so make sure you go ahead and let your opinions be known. He says, are you guys getting Sparking Zero? I replied back, yes, we're hype. He says, that's cool. My favorite DBZ saga is the Frieza saga, the second Red Ribbon Army, and OG Dragon Ball. Yeah, we'll have to make another stream for like OG Dragon Ball sagas and things like that. But he says his favorite saga is the Frieza saga, which is pretty cool. Like I was saying earlier in the stream, the Frieza saga is definitely pretty enjoyable. Zach, do you have your opinions gathered?
Yeah, it is. Frieza saga is awesome.
Yeah. Zach, do you have any favorite moments from the Buu saga you want to talk about?
Yeah, I've got some favorite and some
Least
dislikable
favorites? Yeah,
moments.
let's go ahead and then get into the, we've been really glazing Dragon Ball Z. Zach, I do name went ahead and talked to us about some things he didn't like. What did you not like about it, Zach?
I didn't like how long it took for Gohan to train with Elder Kai, honestly, but and then how he just got swallowed up just as fast.
That is like a very valid complaint that I would have to agree with. I mean, you build up Gohan over the course of the show. He gets that big power up, and then he immediately just is made irrelevant again. So I definitely see where you're coming from. But yeah, go ahead.
More dislikes? Are we still on that?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't like
Personally, if I had to say,
Goku was temporarily took out of it pretty much until the end. He come back for a short minute during the tournament,
yeah,
and then to train the boys, he didn't get much screen time till the end,
Yeah, he was made pretty irrelevant in that arc, but honestly, that's what I liked about it. I kind of liked that a lot of it was focusing on Gohan. He had a lot of slice of life stuff with Videl, his high school stuff. That's probably my favorite stuff in Dragon Ball Z, is just, Gohan going to school.
Another dislike. What's the blonde hairy guy's name again? It slips my mind.
Which one?
He's
Sharpner in high school.
Gohan school. He tries.
Yeah, Sharpner.
Yeah, he tries. Yeah, that's it. He tries to reveal Gohan as the Great Saiyaman. The whole beginning of the tournament.
He's a grade A hater. One of the biggest haters in Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah.
Well, what do you like about the Buu Saga?
Obviously, I like how Gohan's power boost. Another thing, I didn't like how they didn't add in Super Saiyan. Just to go back to the dislikes, because I didn't get this part in, but I didn't like how they didn't put in Super Saiyan like with Gohan's ultimate form. Like they could have mixed it or whatever, had him mix it.
Oh, so you're saying if like he accessed his ultimate form, but then as part of that, his Super Saiyan form was also stronger, so it would have been like an ultimate Super Saiyan situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
I should have did that, I feel like.
I've never actually heard that opinion before. I don't think I have anyway, but yeah.
Well, that's how they say Beast come about, is from Gohan turning
kind of like
Super
accessing that
Saiyan 2
same thing.
Form. Say what?
I was like, yeah, I was agreeing with you. It's kind of like how you're accessing Rage in your Super Saiyan form in your base form to get Super Saiyan. People say that's how he accessed Beast, was because he was in his ultimate form and he was accessing some sort of primal rage. So it's basically his like Super Saiyan version of his ultimate form. But yeah, go ahead. You were talking about some things that you enjoyed for the Buu Saga.
I enjoyed what I liked about Majin Buu is he transformed in so many different ways. It reminded me of Cell, because he could absorb his enemies and get their traits or abilities and become stronger altogether. But that's one thing about Buu that I liked, and his regenerative abilities. It was almost like dealing with a whole nother Cell.
Yeah, that's a good point you mentioned.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He had a lot of the abilities Cell had, like in terms of absorbing people and the other thing I already forgot.
But he also got alternate skins though. I mean, come on, Buu would absorb somebody and get their clothes. Like that's actually
that was pretty bad. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, like the Buuhan stuff,
Goku's gi.
Buu tanks. Real quick.
I really like.
Sorry, go ahead.
Vegito. I really like how Vegito got absorbed on purpose so that Goku and Vegeta could go inside and save Gohan and them.
And real quick, the End of Z Saga is basically part of the Buu Saga, so let's just talk about that here. We're talking a lot about the Buu Saga mainly, but let's go ahead and mention the End of Z real quick. I thought it was a very cool ending to DBZ as a whole. Of course, it takes place after Dragon Ball Super. We don't see Beerus, Whis, or anybody like that because back then they didn't exist. But we actually got a lot of cool action in the End of Z Saga with like the tournaments and everything like that. We got to see Goten and Trunks post time skip. Pan was cool to see, so I really enjoyed the End of Z, and I hope we see Oob one day in Dragon Ball Super more. So you didn't like the End of Z?
No, I didn't like it because they showed all those characters like Gohan and Trunks, and like they're going to be stronger after the time skip, but they didn't even show them fighting each other or anything like that, or really give them a good fight.
Yeah, I kind of considered it like the cherry on top of Dragon Ball Z, just a little epilogue to send us off. What did you think of it, Aduname?
I kind of agree with Jordan or Zach in terms of the End of Z was kind of boring in my opinion. I didn't like the way Goten and Trunks looked. Even though they look the same now in Super, the way they looked, I wasn't a fan of when I was a kid. because I liked Goten's hairstyle being the same, and so him changing it, I didn't like. But like Zach said, there wasn't any fights at the end of Z, and besides, I guess, Oob and Goku, which I didn't think was very cool. I feel like the way they ended Super with Goku and Vegeta fighting, that's how they should have ended the end of Z. That's just my take on it.
With
You know
Goku
what
and
I think they
Vegeta.
was trying to do with Go. You know what I think they was trying to do with Goten's hair, Jeremiah or
What?
Ivan? I think they was trying to make it look like Kid Gohan's because it really looks a lot like Kid Gohan's when he was training with Piccolo.
Yeah, with a little mullet, like a little hair in the back. Real quick in the chat, Retro Lad wants to know: do we prefer Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Kai? He has a soft spot for Dragon Ball
Dragon
Z.
Ball Z.
I personally prefer Dragon Ball Kai because it cuts out a lot of the filler from Dragon Ball Z, makes the pacing a lot more tolerable to new viewers, and honestly sticks a lot closer to Akira Toriyama's source material manga. Now, for me personally, a few years back, I had read through the Dragon Ball Z manga for the first time, and I was honestly surprised by how easy and quick it flowed compared to what I remember from watching Dragon Ball Z whenever I was younger. Whenever you watch Dragon Ball Kai, the pacing is a lot more clear and concise. The dubbing is also much higher quality. I like Frieza's voice in Dragon Ball Z more than his voice in Dragon Ball... I like Frieza's voice more in Dragon Ball Kai than I do in Dragon Ball Z. I just think, generally speaking,
That's
Dragon
where
Ball
you and I
Kai
disagree.
is a better product. Generally
That's where
speaking,
you and I disagree on Frieza's voice. A lot of the voice actors I don't like that changed. Gohan's.
okay, I don't like Gohan's
His change.
change. How about you, Aduname? Do you prefer Z or Kai?
I personally prefer Kai because I'm pretty sure Kai is the one that has no filler, if I'm not mistaken, or at least it
It
tries
cuts
its
out
best to
a
take
lot
cut
of
it out.
filler. Yeah,
Yeah,
like if
and
you're
I
watching Dragon Ball
appreciate
Z, there's a lot more like powering up and slower scenes and everything like that, which is good for the time. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy that at the time, but like if you're going back and watching, like if you want to today go back and watch Dragon Ball Z and you're introducing somebody to it, I think Dragon Ball Kai is the way to go, simply because it's better paced.
Yeah, for sure.
Zach, do you
I always thought that Dragon Ball Z Kai. Sorry, I always thought Dragon Ball Z Kai's quality could have been better, but then again, it was just them upscaling
you're talking about
resolution or
some
whatever,
of the
so-
redrawn panels or whatever?
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from
it
there.
could have looked better.
Well, have we pretty much talked about all things Dragon Ball Z? Is there anything anybody has left that they want to say? For me personally, one last thing I want to mention about Dragon Ball Z before we move on to the Daima trailer. One thing I want to say about Dragon Ball Z is that I think they could have done a little better with regards to how they handled Gohan's character for sure. But Vegeta's character was a standout. Future Trunks is my favorite character in all of Dragon Ball. And I really, really enjoy the series overall. How about you, Adonam? Any last...
I really want to bring this up before
Okay,
I thought of it. But they didn't give none of the side characters any character development the whole series pretty much. Yamcha, like all the humans, which I get they're humans. There's only so far you can get with them. But like, I feel like the humans should have their own transformation at this point.
Yeah, kind of like a Kaioken or Ultra Instinct type of thing, where like it's not exclusive.
Yeah,
to
it's
Natsuroshi
a power
technically
boost,
has
like-
his own version of Ultra Instinct.
Yeah, he does. He
Like,
I
at
think he
least the power
accesses the
boost,
technique.
Like Kaioken isn't considered a transformation, but give him something like that at least.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Adonam, do you have any last comments about Dragon Ball Z?
Dragon Ball Z was a banger show, best show out of all of them. That's just my opinion.
Definitely a gateway anime.
Yeah. If you hate anime and you watch Dragon Ball Z, you'll probably still hate anime, but you won't hate Dragon Ball Z, even though it's an anime.
Yeah. Zach, you said you could
Easy.
only be on the call for about 30 minutes and stuff. Do you want to go, or can you stick around for maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 more minutes? Or if you want to go now, that's cool.
I can stick around for a little bit longer.
Okay, just let us know
I'll let you
whenever.
know when I gotta
Yeah.
go.
All right. Well, that was all Dragon Ball Z. Now we are going to be talking about the Daima trailer now, guys. Again, if you have anything you want to say in the comments, let us know and we'll get to you. As far as the Dragon Ball Daima trailer goes, I really enjoyed it. We actually have somebody on the call who was very unfamiliar with what Daima was, so we'll be getting into his opinions on what he thought of the trailer. Very hot takes from him. But we do have names for the characters. So Goku and Supreme Kai will be joined on their journey in the Demon Realm by two new characters. Glorio is the name of the new blue guy with the yellow eyes, short white hair, and gun that we saw in the trailer. His name is Glorio. The masked Majin is the other character who will be joining them. Right now, her design keeps her face covered, but we know she uses a knife or a short sword. We saw her in the trailer. And then Goma is the name of the strange, short guy who we believe is the villain. And then we also had another shot in the trailer of a Supreme Kai-looking dude right by Goma. He is the Makaoshin, which I think translates to the Demon Supreme Kai. So Daima is definitely going to be getting into the whole demon aspectual thing. We also saw a few other things in the trailer that I thought was interesting, which was the Namekian spaceship, and we also saw other things like Goku going to the Demon Realm. Looked like there were multiple planets, so we'll definitely be visiting multiple planets. And one of the subtitles in the trailer, whenever we were transitioning through scenes, one of them said the Grand Adventure or Great Adventure. I kind of felt like that was a semi-reference to the Grand Tour of Dragon Ball GT, so they definitely know where the fans are at with regards to how they're comparing this to Dragon Ball GT. But I enjoyed the trailer. I don't think I have any complaints about the trailer except for the fact that there is no dialogue, so we still really don't have a good understanding of the story or what's going on. Mainly everything we know about this has been through leaks. I mean, if I have to sit here and tell you two about what it's about, then that really tells you they need to start putting out like a story trailer. Start having dialogue or something like that in the trailers. I enjoy the music, but at a certain point, you gotta start establishing what it's about. This thing's coming out in October, the same month that Sparking Zero releases. More people, think about this, more people are excited about a Dragon Ball game than a Dragon Ball anime. That really tells you where we're at with this thing. I'm not saying like I'm not like crapping on it. I don't think it's going to be a bad product. I definitely think that Dragon Ball Daima is going to be up there in terms of quality. We already know the animation's looking pretty solid. My only problem is that people are more excited for Sparking Zero than Daima because they're not promoting Daima well enough. I appreciate the trailer and like the animation and everything, but I think we need to start getting more story content. What about you, Idename? What did you think of the trailer?
In terms of the content, we don't really know what the story's about, except for what you said earlier, with like the characters, what their names are, yada yada. But I think that the show has kind of a good thing going for it. There's a lot of people who don't really think that the show is going to be that good. I was one of those people before I started, reading into it a little more, and I decided to give it a shot instead of, going into it thinking it's going to be terrible or I'm not going to like it or be into it. I think that the fact that Toriyama is supposedly really involved in the show, especially with the story and stuff, and the show has been in production for quite a while in terms of the information that's online and stuff. Yeah. So, like you said, the animation is really good. It's like it's kind of movie quality, and it's really good. It's not going to be like Dragon Ball Super in terms of how everything was rushed in production. I think if you're a Dragon Ball fan and you really, really wanted Super to continue, you're going to be disappointed. But if you go into this expecting just a different Dragon Ball story completely, then you're going to be really hyped and you're going to enjoy the first episode when it comes out, because that's how I'm going to go into it, and hopefully that's how I feel. But just going off the trailer, I think that the animation and everything looks really good, and my only complaint is what you said, that I really wish I could hear what they're talking about, what's going on, because it's just a little confusing watching all those clips with no audio at all,
Like
like
no
you said.
context, no audio, no teasing. No, these are the 7 Dragon Balls. We see the Dragon Balls. We don't know what they're there for. We see a Namekian spaceship. We don't know what the deal is. We understand we're trying to set up. They're trying
Yeah.
to set up the mystery, but give us some dialogue to go off of. And it's funny that you mentioned about going in with an open mind and things like that, because we have Zach in the call, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. Zach just watched Dragon Ball Daima's trailer for the first time. He had absolutely no idea what was going on. He even asked us, what are they? Are they kids? So, Zach, just give us your first impressions of Daima. Give us all the hot takes. Keep it YouTube channel appropriate or whatever. Go ahead and give us your hot takes.
Oh, shoot. I think it's new, but if it's what I think it is, and I think they're trying to do like a little thing like on Dragon Ball GT and make it similar to that, but I don't know, man. I don't like the cartoon style, I guess.
You don't like how they're all
Um,
chibi, kid-like.
Yeah.
And, that's definitely an opinion that's fairly common with the Dragon Ball Daima outrage, I guess you could say. A lot of people are definitely in your same boat. Like Daima was saying, I'm trying to come into it with an open mind and be open about it and think, is this really that bad? Is this going to be good or bad? Now, I definitely think I would prefer a super anime over a Daima anime. Don't get me wrong, I understand where you're coming from there. But like Daima was saying, I mean, it's a Daima anime. Let's treat it as a Daima anime. I'm more about like trying to enjoy what we got instead of, wishing we had something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was also the last thing he worked on, so I feel like that's another reason why they're pushing it and putting a lot of production into it. Because I don't really see that they didn't even do it with Super. So like I feel like it's because of Akira Toriyama passing away, and just the fact that that's the very last thing that we're gonna get from him. And so they're kind of making a send off for him, if that makes sense. I feel like.
Yeah, now I want to talk about the story content that we saw in the trailer, because like I said, there wasn't a lot. But I want to get your guys' opinions on a couple things that this series is supposedly going to expand that we saw in the trailer. So Goma is the short guy that we saw in the trailer. A very cartoony looking face, kind of looks like a clown. He is a demon lord kind of thing. We don't know what he's called exactly, but he's going to be vying for the throne of the Demon King and really pushing to take over Deborah's spot. Because in Dragon Ball Z, Deborah was killed, so now there's an empty throne in the demon realm. So there's going to be multiple demon people trying to become the next Demon King, and through some shenanigans, there's going to be a curse laid on Goku, Supreme Kai, and all of their friends, and they're all going to become kids. With that in mind, Goku and Supreme Kai have to go to the demon realm to confront this evil. Apparently, they're going to get tricked into serving some sort of demon lords, and they'll be fighting other demons. So it's going to be basically a demon civil war type of situation. And this short guy named Goma is working with a Mikaio-shin, a demon Supreme Kai, or an evil Supreme Kai. I forgot what it translates from. And that's the character that we saw in the trailer, who kind of looked like a Supreme Kai character, but not really. So with that being said, there's also early speculation that we're going to be getting into the early introduction of the Dragon Balls, because in one of the other trailers we saw a really old Namekian face, and then in this trailer, the latest trailer, we actually saw the 7 Dragon Balls spreading out from across the sky. So we know they're going to be used in this series. Maybe after they're all turned into kids, they use the Dragon Balls to try to return to adults, and they figure out that doesn't work. But what do you think about those types of things? Like, are you interested in learning more about the demon realm, the gods, the origin of the Dragon Balls, things like that? I do name. We'll start with you, and then we'll go to Zach.
Definitely interested to learn about the lore of the Dragon Balls and the demon realm. I will admit that I've never really thought about the demon realm, even though it was mentioned in the Boo saga a few times from the Deborah. Is that his name? I
Yeah,
can't
Deborah.
remember.
Or
The former.
you could
Demon
say
King.
Dabra or Deborah. Both pronunciations I feel are valid.
But yeah, I didn't really like the former Demon King Deborah when he was alive. He was pretty boring. Um, for some reason, I remember him being a good guy at some point. Am I wrong, or is that just something that's in my head for some
Okay,
reason?
so what you're thinking about is the Dragon Ball Z filler in the Buu saga because he died. Okay, so he was basically evil. He gets controlled by Babidi, and we know Babidi has to control somebody that's evil and take advantage of that. That's what he did with Vegeta. He preyed on Vegeta's impurity and the darkness in his heart to possess him. So we know Deborah was already evil, but in the filler they added it to after he died, he was an angel in heaven. So we had Buu killing like Videl, Bulma, Chi-Chi, all of them, and they hung out with Deborah in heaven. That's filler. That never happened. Real quick, before we move on with the conversation, Phantom Flame says, I am here. He says, Mikhail-shin, I want Toa to enter the main continuity. Maybe the Masked Kid is a young Toa. And for people who aren't familiar, Phantom Flame is a staple of the channel. He's in all of the streams. I really appreciate his support. Idoname, do you have anything you want to say about that, Toa? Well, we do know that blue guy with the yellow eyes and white hair is very reminiscent of Toa and Mira. So Phantom Flame may be onto something there. Maybe there's some links there. But yeah, Idoname.
Yeah, I definitely do think that the kid looks similar to them.
It's like, are we like doing some sort of clone of Toa? I mean, we do know Toriyama made Broly canon. He could be doing something similar, maybe, and Android 21. I mean, not necessarily Android 21, but Vomi, the model or the human that she was based off of, is canon. So maybe Toriyama was like, hey, I drew Mira. He looks pretty cool. I'll borrow elements from Mira and make, what was his name? Glorio, the blue-skinned guy, Glorio.
I've noticed that they've been bringing back a lot of things from the old anime. Kind of like, for example, they brought Cell back. They brought,
Frieza back, dude.
Well, yeah, they brought Frieza back. They had, man, I had like two other things in mind, but I can't remember them.
Yeah, when we're live and in the moment,
they've been
guys.
reusing a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I understand. When we're live, when we're in the moment, thoughts slip away, they come back, things like that. So whenever you think of it, you can come back to us. My Master Waves, the Demon Realm, yes. My Master Waves in the chat says, isn't Toa already canon via Dragon Ball Online? I don't think Dragon Ball Online is canon. I played a lot of Dragon Ball Online for the channel. Dragon Ball Online is not necessarily canon. We know Toriyama did some artwork for it and things like that, but I don't think it was ever conceived as a canon product. But I personally like to think some elements are canon. Maybe there are probably notes that Toriyama gave them or something. Like, for example, I think it is Trunks and Goten open up a martial arts academy, and Trunks trains people how to fight with swords and stuff. Like, that's cool stuff to think about later on in Dragon Ball Z's timeline. Like, when you consider that we'll probably never get there because Super is taking so long to come out. Who knows what's going on with Daima. So yeah, personally, I like to think of some stuff in Dragon Ball Online as being canon. Zach, what do you have any more opinions about Dragon Ball Daima? We kind of haven't called on you in a moment. Do you have anything you want to say, like about the Demon Realm, anything like that? Are you excited to get more lore about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I thought something like that might come eventually because, like you said, Deborah was killed. Somebody had to take his spot.
And they're finally addressing it. You know, that's pretty cool.
In Dragon Ball, there was actually a lot of demons. Like Goku went into the demon realm.
Yeah, I know.
Demons from the demon realm.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is filler that wasn't originally in the manga. Like,
oh, was it?
Yeah, because back then,
I didn't know Dragon Ball had filler.
Yeah, I had some filler as well. So, like, say for example, you had the Demon King Piccolo stuff. Back then, they were still establishing what Demon King Piccolo was. So they even said that, like, I think that was even before they introduced the concept of Namekian. So for some reason, he's spitting out things that are not Namekians. They're like demon things. Yet for some reason, later on in the series, when Namekians produce, they spit out Namekians. So, you know, there's some stuff that gets retconned and changed, but what you are talking about is filler. But, you know, it's definitely valid. I mean, you can headcanon it if you want. I mean, I'm not going to stop you.
I mean, shoot. I don't care if it's canon or not.
It's canon to
they
you.
Brought it into the. I mean, they brought it into the anime before, so obviously, like, demons was on his mind.
Yeah. Phantom Flame says that Toa is in her own continuity most of the time. However, in the main continuity, like I guess you can call it interview lore, her technology for Mira is based off Jiro's work. That's interesting, Phantom Flame. I did not know that. My Master Wave says, it was said that Dragon Ball wrote the story for Dragon Ball 9 as well, at least for character designs. One of the things Akira Toriyama wrote in Dragon Ball 9 is that Gohan wrote a book about ki control and then DBS Superhero. I heard about that. That is interesting. That makes sense. Gohan is writing a book about ki control and a bug that can sort of do a ki control thing. I understand that. I like that. In fact, I think that's a cool thing that I kind of did not notice, but that makes sense because he's studying ants, the super ant thing, so that makes sense. That would lead into him later on writing about ki control in Dragon Ball Online.
Have you ever seen the like? I think it's a fan made. No, actually, it might be by Akira Toriyama. Actually, where a guy gets killed and he gets reincarnated as Yamcha.
That is the that time I got reincarnated as Yamcha. That was a fan manga. It was conceived as
legendary.
It was conceived as a fan manga, but it was officially published by Shueisha. It's a really good manga. In fact, while we're talking about Dragon Ball Z, this is the Ranking Dragon Ball Z's podcast, Sagas. We talked a little bit about the Dragon Ball Daima trailer. We're still not done talking about Dragon Ball Daima. We'll talk more about that. But while we're talking about Dragon Ball Z sagas, I think that's appropriate to mention the Yamcha thing because it revisits Dragon Ball Z sagas. What did you guys think about the Yamcha manga? I thought it was a lot of fun. It was pretty funny to see that guy like, I can't handle this.
I feel like they could have picked a better character than Yamcha.
I think that's what made it, though. That's what made it funny.
That's what made the point.
Like, he got reincarnated as the weakest guy, and he has to make the most of it. He tries to keep Bulma, but then realizes if he tries to stay with Bulma, then Trunks is never born. Like, I mean, and the funniest thing was the other guy that got reincarnated with him was Chaozu. Like, I thought that was hilarious.
I think Chaozu could have been like the worst person to actually be reincarnated as opposed to the Yamcha.
Chaozu, dude.
Chaozu's psychic,
Chaozu's
though.
a legend. What are you talking about?
Chaozu can, like...
wouldn't have...
Sorry, go ahead.
Chaozu messed Nappa
up. Chaozu could KO Yamcha?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, as Cyberman did.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And he can do the same thing. So, probably.
Well, at least Chaozu fought Nappa for a good second.
He did. True. He did, and then he died. Well, you know, Yamcha got killed by a Cyberman. Chaozu blew up with Nappa, so you're right. At least he went a little bit further. Phantom Flame says DBO diverges from Super at the return of Frieza. My Master Wave says Reborn as Yamcha was actually cool. Remember people doing mods for his universe where people gave him a cool moveset. Remember, guys, if you had anything more to say, leave it in the comment section and we'll get back to you. We do like to do a general chat at the end where we talk about our main topics and then we just go ahead and riff and talk about other things in the realm of Dragon Ball.
When are they going to continue the Dragon Ball Super manga?
I love that you mentioned that because we've talked about that like every stream. In fact, whenever me and IDoName originally conceived of the podcast, we thought we'll do a few episodes a month and then like I'm sure we'll have like topics to pick out and then maybe after a few months we can just talk about Dragon Ball Super. We're sure it'll be back. It still isn't back. So we're basically going to have like a few more months of just topics and then whenever Dragon Ball Daima comes out, we'll probably have a monthly review series of Dragon Ball Daima where we just review Dragon Ball Daima and then talk about other news like Sparking Zero. I think that'll be really fun. Like in October, guys, October is going to be big for Dragon Ball because we're going to have Sparking Zero and Daima. So our stream in October is going to be a big Sparking Zero review, talking about all the what-ifs and everything like that. And then we'll be talking about the Daima premiere review. So that's going to be a lot of fun, you know?
I cannot wait to talk about the first episode of Dragon Ball Daima.
Like, just sitting here dreaming about it is one thing, but when we're finally going to be able to get into it, that's going to be so fun. And hopefully we'll have Zach back as well then.
You know what I liked about the ending? Or not the ending, but where they left off on Dragon Ball Super.
What did you like about it?
I don't like that they left off on it, but I like the fact that they brought Pan in, or they brought Goku with Pan, had them meet, and as soon as she meets him, she just throws a punch at him.
Yeah, the
She's
Dragon
ready
Ball
to fight him.
Super manga
She's like, let's
is
see
so
what he's
enjoyable.
about.
Yeah. So to answer your question, nobody knows whenever the Dragon Ball Super manga is going to return. We're just holding out hope. There is a big copyright battle behind the scenes. I made a video about this. I don't have all the names memorized right off the top of my head, so I apologize for that. But basically what's going on is, I think his name, Akio Ioku, was basically one of the people in charge of the Dragon Ball room at Shueisha. So Shueisha decided to basically make a room of the Dragon Ball people to basically talk about Dragon Ball, have continuity, plan things out, the future of the franchise. And then they did not like... This is reportedly, rumors and things like that. I don't think it's explicitly confirmed, just based off reports. Ioku was very bossy, is what I understand. But he also put the creator's vision first. So he had a really good working relationship with Akira Toriyama. But the people at the Dragon Ball room did not like him in terms of his personality and how he ran things. He was actually the guy who said that they should use Gohan more for the superhero movie. He also encouraged the idea of bringing Broly back in Dragon Ball Super Broly. So he had some pretty cool ideas that were a bit refreshing, more nostalgic type stuff. But then what happened was he ended up getting moved. So they moved him from the Dragon Ball room to being in a different department of business, like, finances or whatever. And so if you're working as a creative person and then you get moved to the business side of the company, you're not going to be happy about that. I understand completely why he did next, what I'm about to tell you what he did next. So he basically left the company and created his own company called Capsule Corporation. And now he's basically, Akira Toriyama's passed away now, but at that point, after he left the Dragon Ball room, he was still working as basically the liaison to Akira Toriyama. So he was basically Akira Toriyama's voice, because we know Toriyama was famously a private guy. So he was basically the voice of Toriyama to Shueisha. And now that Toriyama's gone, there's a copyright battle, because we had Ioku, who had formed his own company, Capsule Corporation Tokyo, and we have Shueisha, and they were both working with Toriyama. So now there's like some sort of legal situation behind the scenes, and now they got to get that sorted out. Like, basically, the way I understand it, we only have, again, this is the way I understand it, based off his presence at New York Comic Con last year. Ioku was there presenting Dragon Ball Daima. He was saying that this is Akira Toriyama's vision. We had Toriyama's notes and things like that. That tells me Ioku is more involved with Daima, and then Shueisha is probably more involved with Dragon Ball Super. So there's like a big copyright situation behind the scenes. To make a long story short, we don't know. But we do know Daima's coming in October.
Hey, speaking of Daima, do you guys think that transformations will be in the show?
No.
Like Super Saiyan?
No.
Or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I think based off early reports, they're really going to double down on how Goku progressed in the original series. They're going to have like more raw fights. That's one thing I want to talk about in the trailer that I didn't talk about enough earlier in the stream, was that they in the trailer we actually see a lot of Goku fist fighting and fighting with the power pole and things like that. I'm very excited to see the power pole back. And one of Goku's companions that's with him uses a gun. He's got a gun. The blue guy, Glorio, he's got a gun. And then the
straight up.
the chick, the masked Majin chick, which is another thing. She's called Majin. Is she the same species as Majin Buu? We don't know yet. But she is called a masked Majin. And she has a knife. So I like that Dragon Ball Daima is taking a more JRPG, Dragon Quest style approach with its story content. And, having Goku fight with the Power Pole or fists. And we're having Glorio use a gun. Supreme Kai, from what we could tell, uses an energy blast technique. And again, Supreme Kai was always kind of a pushover, I guess you could say. So it's nice that he's actually getting some shine in this. And so as far as
did you ever hear that theory about Frieza's mom?
Like the Supreme Kai, Frieza's mom. Yeah, that's from Dragon Ball AF. That's a
There's the theory that Frieza's mom was the East Kai, I believe, or was it West Kai? I think it was East Kai.
Yeah, that's from the Dragon Ball AF manga, which was actually also created by Toyotaro. So he actually created that you're talking about before he was officially recruited to do the Dragon Ball Heroes manga and then did Dragon Ball Super. He actually did that manga that you're talking about. So I was about to say, Zach, you're talking about some pretty irrelevant stuff here, but now that you mention it, that's kind of irrelevant because when Dragon Ball Super comes back, that could play into it because he did create that. He also created Zycor, Goku's long-lost brother. I would actually love to have a Dragon Discourse just talking about Dragon Ball AF. It's a pretty short read.
They never went over who Frieza's mom was, and I mean, if Frieza's going to come back, that's going to be the last arc, and I feel like they could discuss that. They could go over that.
Yeah, but I also kind of believe that the Frieza race probably reproduces asexually like the Namekians do.
Yeah, they could.
Because they're all guys, right? I mean...
You know what's weird, though?
What?
I think there might be a couple episodes, I might be mistaken, but earlier episodes like Saiyan Saga and whatnot, Piccolo doesn't drink. He only drinks water. He don't eat food, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure maybe around the androids or the Buu Saga, he might have ate food.
That's insane. I can't believe that Piccolo would eat food. What is he thinking? This is inconsistent writing. Toriyama, I mean, what was he thinking back then? This is crazy. I'm just kidding.
I could be wrong.
Nah.
Oh, shit. Oh, excuse my language. Yeah, I Googled it. He's the only Namekian in the show to be seen eating food.
That is crazy.
It could have been filler. It could have been filler.
Probably is filler, but that's an interesting point to make. Real quick.
I think I remember him saying, "Oh, fish again."
It says Piccolo ate in the original Dragon Ball anime as well.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Real quick, let's get to the... Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I want to get to the chat real quick. But, while you have it in your head, just real quick mention it, and then we'll get to the chat.
So, you said the masked Majin, you didn't know about it, but I searched her up, I don't know what the gender is, but it says the name is Pansy, also known as the masked Majin, is a demon from the demon realm who accompanies Goku and Shin on their journey.
Okay, so
I don't know where that information comes from.
Okay, can I just have a pet peeve real quick before we get to the chat? People that call Supreme Kai Shin. He was never called Shin. That was a fake name that he used for the tournament. I don't know why people still call him Shin. I guess that's something they still do in the Japanese. I'm not sure. I'm just going to keep calling him Supreme Kai. I'm pretty sure Shin was just a fake name that he used for the tournament, and for some reason it stuck around for way longer than it should have. He's the Supreme Kai. I don't subscribe to the name Shin. But yeah, as far as Pansy though, that's not confirmed. I think that's like a leaked thing, but probably.
Oh.
Probably, yeah. I would say. I mean, a lot of the leaks about Dragon Ball Daima.
He's not Kaioshin though, is he not?
Yeah, like that's
Kaioshin?
Yeah, Kaioshin, that's the Supreme Kai. That's the translation.
Yeah, that's why he named himself Shin.
So, like Kai? Is that what you're talking about? Like, I don't know Japanese.
Supreme Kai called himself Shin.
Which is short for Kaioshin, which is the Japanese name.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that's why people call him Shin, is
That's
because people call
definitely-
him Kao Shin in Japan.
That's definitely valid. I didn't think of it like that. Real quick, let's get to the chat. Phantom Flames says he was talking about DBO basically Frieza's army attacks Earth much later than they do in the Super. That's the timeline split. Yeah, so Dragon Ball Online, like I said, that was conceived of before Dragon Ball Super, so some things definitely don't fit. Master Wave says Majin doesn't mean like Boo. Ma means demon. Jin means person or refers to a race. Yeah, so Majin basically just means demon race according to my Master Waves. That makes sense to me. Phantom Flame says in DBO it's most of the Z Warriors are masters and teachers. That makes sense. He also says in Super it's while they are in their current prime. Yeah. And then Master Wave says in OG Dragon Ball Piccolo ate fish. DBZ Kakarot has a lore section, and it said this lore comes from Akira Toriyama. I remember that. They did make a big deal about that before the game came out, about it all coming from Akira Toriyama. And some info from SideQuest is also supposedly lore from Toriyama. They explain that Namekians can eat food when angry and stressed. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's crazy. I never knew that.
Always, because if you eat food in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and Piccolo's in your party, he's just got a cup of water there.
I didn't know that either.
Anyways, guys,
That's
we
funny.
are coming up on our time. We normally go for about an hour and 30 minutes, so we are coming up on our time here. So just keep in mind, we're going to be closing out relatively soon. If you have any last-minute questions, get them in now. As we're closing out, let's just go ahead and talk about, well, you know, whatever we want to talk about, like I said. And this is the Dragon Discourse. We already touched on our main two topics, Daima's latest trailer and the Dragon Ball Z sagas in general. Does anybody have anything else they want to mention at the end here? While we're
I would like to know if Phantom Flame has an opinion on the new Daima trailer, because we all gave our opinions, and he's pretty involved in the chat usually on all of our podcasts. So I'm just curious.
yeah,
If he wants to.
yeah,
give his
Phantom
opinion on the
Flame,
trailer,
give us
if he
your
saw it.
opinion. Phantom Flame is a day one. We definitely appreciate his support. He is absolutely a day one OG live stream follower of the channel.
Kakarot also explains why tails can grow back for Saiyans and where human animals come from. That's what my Master Wave said.
Yeah, so I can't remember about the tails growing back, but as far as where the human animals come from, I remember DBZ Kakarot basically explained that there were some humans that were born as animals, like Oolong and Puar, you know, they are animal people. But then it kind of became a fad in the Dragon Ball community. Like in the universe of Dragon Ball, people just started taking these capsules, these pills, or I can't remember if they were pills or just some sort of medication to basically turn into animals. It was basically like a fashion statement, funnily enough. So that's why if you watch Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, there's a lot of human-animal hybrids, which, you know, I guess that makes sense.
I never knew that either. That's crazy.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot did a lot to expand the lore of Dragon Ball. Zach, as we're
That's
closing
awesome.
out, do you have anything you want to say? Again, we're not closing out exactly right at this moment, but we're about to be. So,
Like another topic or what?
no, like just, you know, anything generally speaking about what we talked about today or anything that's on your mind that you want to bring to the conversation.
Honestly,
Sorry, what were you saying? I think you cut out.
I feel like they could have did more about went into more about like the history of the Saiyans,
Okay, this is a popular opinion.
like prehistoric.
I
Saiyans.
agree.
Honestly, that's my dream Dragon Ball project. We talk a lot about like the MCU, how like they have a bunch of projects that eventually connect, and I honestly think that the Dragon Ball movies should start experimenting a little. Like, I appreciate Dragon Ball Super Broly and Dragon Ball Super Superhero, but those are both stories that could just be told in Dragon Ball Super. I think we should have Dragon Ball Super ongoing, but then whenever you do a Dragon Ball movie, it has to be special and has to mean something even more. Like you were saying, Zach, let's do a Dragon Ball movie about Yamoshi, the first Super Saiyan God. Or let's do a movie
something like that.
about, you know, the origin of the Namekians, the first, I think his name is Zalama, the one that created the Super Dragon Balls. Let's do something like that, you know?
That would be so cool.
I would much rather have Yamoshi.
Like, we don't need Goku and any of the original characters. We just need. That would be so cool. Yeah, like, I would watch it and probably really enjoy it, even if they didn't have any of the OG characters in it.
Yeah, like let's just
Do,
get experimental
like,
with
maybe
it.
Supreme Kai. That's about as far as they could go with it. Have Supreme Kai or maybe Beerus for somebody from Super.
I would just hope they don't mess it up like they did the episode of Bardock special. I think that one was pretty lame. Not even gonna lie.
Yeah, I
Pretty terrible.
mean, it was definitely ill-conceived. I think the story could have been better. It was basically just an excuse to have Bardock turn Super Saiyan. That way we could say that
Yeah.
he was the first Super Saiyan in history. Which, of course, that is filler, from what I understand. Well, it's not necessarily filler, but it's non-canon. But I definitely do like it. I mean, you'll get no complaints from me as far as giving me an excuse for Bardock to turn into a Super Saiyan. But like you were saying, it was definitely weak in terms of the narrative department. Phantom Flame gave us his opinion on the Dragon Ball Daima trailer. He says, I think the music was good, and Glorio looks a bit weird, but it'll grow on me. Interested to see more about the other Kai. He says, let's see. It's all really a succession battle, I would guess. I think the other Kai is probably envious of Shin getting to manage the realm, but angry at the way it's gone. Maybe even the plot against the other Kais with Boo was a little bit of bigger plan for the other Kai to get a position. That's interesting. I never thought about that. Yeah, maybe this Mikhail Shin is upset and wants to... maybe he's got personal beef with Supreme... Actually, Phantom Flame is on a track of greatness with that. That is why Supreme Kai is the one that goes with Goku to the Demon Realm, because he has a personal bone to pick with the Mikhail Shin. That makes complete sense to me. We're actually wiring this story together before it's even come out. That's an amazing call there, Phantom Flame. What do you guys think about that? He's onto something there.
He's definitely onto something.
But yeah, the music was okay. Sorry, what were you saying?
The music. Was he talking about the music for the trailer?
Yeah, I thought the music was okay. I mean, I need more dialogue. That's what I need.
I don't even remember the music. That's what I think about it.
Yeah, I think the music is kind of forgettable, I guess you could say. So
For me, for sure. I don't remember what I was gonna say. It was nothing important though.
My Master Wave says, in DBS, Kaba offered Vegeta to visit Universe 6 and mentioned their king is a lot like Vegeta. I wish Vegeta actually went there to see what's up in a universe full of Saiyans. That's interesting you mentioned that, My Master Waves, because we talked about in the last podcast that we did about that, I believe. Didn't we, Name? And we touched on that's something we want to see for the future of Super. So,
I think that visiting the other Saiyan planet would be really cool and awesome. There's a lot of stuff they could do with it. But I also think that it could be a bad thing though, because I didn't necessarily like how easy the other Saiyans could go Super Saiyan. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people disliked that part of the other Saiyans.
Honestly,
how easily they transformed.
Yeah, and I honestly think that Dragon Ball Daima reportedly having no transformations is going to be refreshing. Maybe we will get a transformation because, I mean, does anybody else remember in Dragon Ball GT whenever Goku was a kid the whole time and then he got Super Saiyan 4 and then all of a sudden he was an adult? Who knows? Maybe they'll do something like that again. Probably not. Where
Super Saiyan 4 Goku is going to be canon?
What
if that's what's going to happen?
I'm just saying it's a possibility. I mean, we got Canon Broly.
I never even thought about that, but Super Saiyan 4 is probably one of the most... Yeah, we want that to be canon.
Super Saiyan 4 is like the only good thing in Dragon Ball GT. Though. But please, dude, give us Super Saiyan 4 and Dragon Ball Daima. I mean, come on. Or at least something similar to Super Saiyan 4. You're right, though. It's probably not going to happen, if I'm being honest. Reportedly, there are no transformations, so probably not. But again, you never know. All right, guys. Do we have everything basically all said and done? Is there anything else to talk about? Let's go ahead and talk to the chat real quick. We are going to be cutting off the chat, so if you have any last-minute comments you want to make sure you make them now because we are going to be making some final addresses. Oh, you got to go, Zach?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go.
All right, well, it was nice talking to you, Zach. You're, of course, welcome back anytime onto the channel and onto the podcast. It was nice talking to you.
All right.
All right.
Good talking to y'all.
All right, peace.
Yeah, bro.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, that was
I was about to be worried that he didn't know how to lead.
Yeah, that was an
call.
awesome
That would've been
conversation. It would have been funny. Well, it's a good thing he...
Yeah, it was nice having someone else into the stream.
Yeah, that was really enjoyable. We'll definitely have more guests on the podcast in the future. Like I said, we are closing out, so let's go ahead and read some of these comments. Masterwave says, bye. Goodbye, Masterwaves. Have a good one. Phantom Flame says, we got Broly's Wrath form. Maybe make Yamoshi Super Saiyan 4. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Masterwave says, yeah, Super Saiyan 4 is awesome. Also, the ending of GT was cool. Phantom Flame says, only around 70 to 80 core people exist at around a single time. In Universe 7, at least. Honestly, Phantom Flame, I have no idea what you're saying. Only around 70 to 80 core people exist around a single time? Do you understand what he's saying?
No, he's gonna have to give us some context.
And
I think
he
that might have
says,
been a little...
and Toriyama in interviews used to say all core people once went to an academy. Phantom Flame, I do not understand what you're referencing when you're saying core people. Are you talking about like the Supreme Kai race?
Oh.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, that's interesting to know. Yeah, I'm very excited to get more information on the Kais, like the Makaishin and stuff. They come from the trees. Yeah, I've read those interviews. I need to do more research about that stuff. I've read where he said like there's some sort of world tree, like not world tree, but it's based off Norse mythology where there is a world tree or something like that, and that's where the Kai come from. So that's an interesting thing, Phantom Flame. Well, Phantom Flame, thank you for all the lore bits. We definitely love having you in the stream. Idoname, do you have any closing statements you want to make before we get out of here?
I want to say I appreciate everybody who commented on the stream, and if you want to join the stream, you're welcome to. All you have to do is become a member, and you will be able to join our Discord, and you might have a chance to stop in and maybe answer a few questions about Dragon Ball or Daima, or give your opinion on it. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Alrighty, and right before I close out, I just want to say I do agree with Idoname there whenever he's talking about having people join in. It's only 99 cents to become a channel member. You get the link to the Discord, and I would like to have... So basically, as it is now, we talk about our main topics, and then we turn to the chat, and then we basically have a Q&A session that way. But it would also be fun to have a Q&A session in the call. Maybe have some channel members join in, talk about things that they had opinions on and things like that. So yeah, if you want to be part of the conversation on the audio, you can go ahead and become a channel member for 99 cents and go ahead and join in. Anyways, guys, like Idoname said, it was a fun conversation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed having a third member to basically bounce off of and talk about Dragon Ball Z. He'll be back maybe sometimes here and there, maybe for the Dragon Ball Daima premiere. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. This has been Toon Raider. And
This has been Idoname.
Yes. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace off.